All right, my English teacher friend. So I got a little treat for you in this writing workshop video. So for those that are familiar with my work, you know that for literary analysis, to practice writing introductions for FRQ1, FRQ2-esque types of prompts from the AP Literature exam, that I use a lot of Oscar-nominated short films just to hammer home how to really guarantee the thesis point. Well, I teach Lang and I teach Lit. For my AP language friends, one of the things I do to really solidify how to write an introduction for FRQ2, which features the rhetorical analysis prompt, is I use classic commercials in a very similar way that I use the Oscar-nominated short films. So what I want to do in this writing workshop is highlight, kind of showcase my template of the declarative thesis, which I exclusively use for rhetorical analysis. And for my AP literature friends or on-level, teachers that teach literary analysis, in those Oscar-nominated short YouTube videos, I showcase my inverted thesis. So for rhetorical analysis, I declare the thesis. For literary analysis, I invert the thesis. So in this particular video, I'm using a classic Kmart advertisement that they unfurled on us before they went belly up and bankrupt themselves. The infamous "Ship My Pants" commercial. Now, I know some of you are in very conservative districts and you're like, oh my goodness, Christian, I can't believe you get away with this. In my district, this is fair game. We can totally use this. Innuendo is a rhetorical and literary term that we have to teach, right? Kids need to be familiar with euphemisms and innuendos. So this is safe. I mean, if it's if this commercial can be aired during primetime TV, it certainly has space in our classrooms. That's my contention. But do as you may, and be comfortable and don't get yourself in trouble. So the commercial is free online. You can find it on YouTube. So what I do a lot of is this: Bob Rossing my instruction. So folks call me the Bob Ross of composition because I'm always painting, air quote, painting with my students. So to get my students to practice this, what I did was I showed them a commercial that they could not write about. I chose the Mr. T Snickers bar commercial. Classic Mr. T Snickers commercial. And I wrote 3 introductions based on that commercial. And I talked about my declarative thesis, which I'll do in just a second for you. And then from there, I showed them the Kmart commercial and we debriefed it. We broke down the advertisement together in like this quasi-Socratic seminar, format. And then they wrote their introductions. I don't want mimicry. I don't want mockery. I want them to do authentic writing. So the Mr. T commercial was off limits. They needed to write about Kmart. So lots of modeling, lots of exemplars. It really demystifies the writing process for them. So the first question we have to ask ourselves is this: how do I construct the introductory paragraph? And I've already alluded to this. I have 2 templates, the declarative and the inverted. For rhetorical analysis, my students always declare. For literary analysis, my students always invert. For synthesis, persuasion, straight up argument like FRQ3, and for research, it's a toss-up. It's 50-50, coin flip. You can declare or invert. It's usually contingent upon the prompt or the direction that you want to spell out your argument, whether or not you're going to be using inductive and deductive reasoning templates within your syllogism. So I got YouTube videos on that go into that quite a bit. So here's the kicker with the College Board. On FRQ2 for the AP Lang exam and FRQ1 and FRQ2 on the AP Literature exam, implicit in all 3 of those prompts are 2 questions. So it's implied. What is the authorial intent and how does the author construct meaning? If students can correctly ascertain the meaning, like the gist of whether it's the poem, the prose passage, or the rhetorical analysis passage, and articulate it in a nice, structured way in the introductory paragraph, they're going to guarantee themselves the thesis point. And then we're going for the sophistication points after that. So what is the authorial intent and how does the author construct meaning? So here's the kicker with this. I'm gonna go in reverse here. For literary analysis, my students invert. So they take 3 sentences to say what is the authorial intent, and the 4th sentence is going to answer the question, how does the author construct meaning? So you end with the thesis. So it's always, end with thesis when you invert, sprinkle in some context background, use some tier 2 level vocabulary, focus on those sentence constructs for voice, rhythm, and flow, and it's always going to be 4 sentences long. But here's the thing. For rhetorical analysis, my students declare, and what I mean by that is they just flip the inverted on its head. So they start with 3 sentences, how does the author construct meaning? Last sentence, what is the authorial intent? So let's go back a second. So what is the authorial intent is the last sentence. How does the author construct meaning? First 3 sentence, and that's going to articulate the thesis statement. So I'll show you a few exemplars and models of how to do that. So as we're watching the commercial for the Kmart commercial, in my classroom I have this poster, and it's a little Velcro poster that I have where every time we are introduced to a new rhetorical word, a term or device, it goes up on this poster. At the time of seeing the Kmart commercial, my students are familiar with all of these terms and or devices. All right. Whenever we do rhetorical analysis, I say, let's go hunting for terms and devices. In the commercial or the speech or the letter, whatever it is we're reading, I say hunt for 3, possibly 4 terms and or devices, the most salient ones, the ones that construct the meaning, the ones that nicely express the authorial intent. So in watching the Kmart commercial, my students had a Socratic seminar where we identified what are the most important terms and or devices in that piece. And you can do the same with your students. It's pretty it's very evident, it's very manifest. It's not the most subtle commercials. So again, we're gonna go, what is the construction of meaning, and then authorial intent. So let me show you a few that my students did. How does the author construct meaning? 3 sentences. What is the authorial intent? Last sentence. So we're going to sprinkle some tier 2 level vocabulary in here because it is an academic task. And what I mean by that is just your average run-of-the-mill SAT level caliber word. And then sentence constructs. I think a lot of teachers know that I espouse Strunk White's teachings and their assertion that there's 12 different ways to construct a single sentence. Look at the voice, the rhythm, and the flow of these sentences. My students at this stage of the game are pretty good at manipulating their syntax, and they can flex some complexities every now and then to achieve that voice, rhythm, and flow. So here it is. Through cunning wordplay, Kmart succumbs to marketing through toilet humor to salvage its struggling business model. So, all right, cunning wordplay. So we're focusing on the diction, right? You're also into the ethos here. They're struggling. So they're launching this online business because Target, Walmart, Amazon are going to put them out of business, right? Tweaking a crude euphemism ever so slightly. So we got euphemism. The company goes the lowbrow route to announce their new shipping options. Appealing to a wide audience, they cast a very diverse group of individuals to broaden their demographics. So you get into the ethos, right? So one of the things I ask my students to do is this. What do you like? What's being promised here? What's the thesis? What are you getting at? So the terms, in terms of the construction of meaning, you got diction, you got the ethos, you got the euphemism, and a big focus on theme and ethos. Last sentence, get me with authorial intent. Knowing that they are lagging far behind their competitors such as Walmart and Target, Kmart unfortunately crossed a delicate line and trespassed into indecency. Again, it's 4 sentences. Note the vocab, very good, cunning, succumb, salvage, tweaking, crude, euphemism, right? So don't overdo it. You don't want to sound like a goon. You don't want to sound contrived or pretentious. Stay in your wheelhouse. But the vocab is definitely up there. Again, it's wielding 4 sentences. The sentence constructs are all flowy and supple. We're not overusing one single sentence construct at the expense of all the other 11. So it's very good out of the gate. And again, you have that 3+1 model within the template. Let's see what student number 2 does. Again, focus on the 3 to 4 most salient rhetorical terms and or devices up top. Construction of meaning. Playing with the diction of a colorful euphemism, Kmart goes for the shock and awe factor to announce their new shipping options. Not so subtly, the company tweaks a common and crude expression by substituting one crucial letter, T for P. This play on words, although rather sophomoric, is comical for those who gravitate toward potty humor. So you get into the pathos here a little bit, the humor. While their direct competitors such as Target and Walmart have launched online shipping campaigns years prior, Kmart seems to succumb to desperate measures to save its floundering stock. Authorial intent, last sentence. So it's always 3+1. 3 construction of meaning, 1 authorial intent. Keep the vocab up, focus on those sentence structures. Every single time students do rhetorical analysis, they can do this. All right. In terms of, the 3 terms that they're going to focus on, my students had a good contentious argument about this in terms of how to stack them. And I said, the ones that you want to identify as bit parts, you're going to save for your body paragraphs, probably your second body paragraph. Not everything goes into the introduction, into the thesis, only the most salient, germane, relevant, pertinent ones. The rest are going to be on the sideline for most likely paragraph 2 of the piece. Here's student number 3, going to do the 3+1, all right? Going the route of toilet humor, Kmart announces their new online shipping options rather tongue-in-cheek, right? So you get into a little bit of the tone, right? You get into the pathos. Taking a common expression to express fear, Kmart bends the semantics humorously to suggest that their entire line of products can be shipped right to the consumer's front stoop. Although this pushes the envelope of acceptable boundaries, Kmart's marketing team decided to run the advertisement in spite of its audacity, right? So we got the construction of meaning. And you'll notice my students imply their terms most of the time. I think it's more skillful, especially as we talk about the elusive sophistication point in rhetorical analysis, to imply if you have the option. AP readers are smart. They can pick up on implication. Last sentence, do the same as the others. Unfortunately, this brick and mortar store is a little bit too late to the online game, no matter how funny they are trying to be. And that is that. 3+1 every single time. The good old declarative thesis as far as writing introductory paragraphs go for the purposes of rhetorical analysis. So try your hand at it. Pick a commercial, write a few exemplars and models, and let it fly. Show your students how to do this. So if you got questions or want the slides, feel free to email me at teachingwritingcoach@gmail.com. Also note that I got a slew of irons in the fire right now, especially with the National Writing Project. So I'm doing a lot of professional development opportunities with them. So for teachers that are in need of PD hours, we have my Teach It Right 5-week mastermind, which is being run Sunday nights, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, followed by Q&A. And we run it for 5 weeks. It's a 5-hour course. And the kicker is that the National Writing Project will award a completion badge of 10 PD hours for a 5-hour course. So they kind of incentivize that. We're also offering a self-paced course for those that are time crunched. And then minis, I have 2-hour intensives. So my alternative grading methods, my teaching line of reasoning through children's stories is a 2-hour intensive. So if you want more information on those things, visit my website at teachinghowtowrite.com. And yeah, I'm keeping busy with them. And Tim Freitas, Brandon Abden, and I will be presenting at NCTE this coming fall. So lots of real good stuff going on in the life of Christian Kuhn. So be happy for now, and happy teaching, happy writing.